everyone, so today is Cinco de Mayo, Cinco de Drinko. Just kidding, we're not drinking today, we're exercising. And here we are again on Tuesday, workout. Today's going to go a little bit differently as far as the way that I'm delivering the message in the workout. We're going to try it where I just demonstrate and give you all of the information and exercises and techniques, but I'm not going to do it real time with you. And because what I've found in the feedback that I've received so far is that it's not necessarily as important for me to do it and you to see me doing it real time as it is for you to focus on you doing it for yourself after I demonstrate it once. So what we're saving is video time, which a lot of us are just pausing and not really able to focus on super well as you're actually exercising, and just focusing on the short piece of information that I give you and then replay it really quickly if you need to because it's just a short little chunk rather than seeing me do the exercises, okay? Now I'm going to make sure that I'm still giving you the proper information. I'm just not going through the full amount of repetitions with you at the same time. And let me know, how does this go for you? All of these things are able to be adjusted and going back and forth. In the first couple months here as I'm launching these Patreon videos, this is all about seeing what works for you guys, what works for me, and then come together and try to make this what suits us all best for each of us. So let me know how it goes for you guys. Now as far as the content, what we're getting into today, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get into the Iliacus, Rectus, Femoris insertion in the hip, okay? So we've got into hip flexor before, and the way that I taught you guys to get into hip flexor was to get in a kneeling position and kind of find the front corner of the hip like so. So this is the hip flexor here. Now what we want to do is, rather than being on the outside front corner of the hip, we want to be more in the medial crease of the hip, in here. So if you find with your fingers kind of some tendinous type, tight, rigid kind of feeling on the inside of your pelvis here, that's where we're trying to go, okay? So the ball is going to be more on the front side of your leg rather than on the outside corner. So right on the front there, okay? Now what we're going to do, just like every other rolling technique, and as I said, I'm not going to go through the full amount of time today, but I'm going to show you what it looks like. You're going to press pause, you're going to do it for yourself at that time, turn on music, but do pay attention to what you're feeling as you're going about through the video, okay? So I'm basically just going to lay on my stomach for this one, on my elbows or even flat on my chest, and this can be a pretty tender spot, okay? Much like the hip flexor, these areas get really tight because of sitting a lot. So as we're sitting a lot, all that tissue gets stuck, it gets junky, it gets tight, so that's why we're rolling it today. Especially on quarantine and lockdown, we're all sitting a lot more. We're not as active as we may be. Okay, so I'm on my chest here. As I said, I could start with it on my elbows. This is going to get your body a little bit warmer if you're on your elbow here, but you can see it's right on the front side of my hip. And if I would like, I could do just a little bit of side-to-side motion. And that's going to massage the area just a little bit more. Okay, so I want you to get in there for 2 minutes. Okay, 2 minutes aside. Do 2 minutes on the left, 2 minutes on the right. Okay? Now after that, after you do both sides, you'll roll your left side, you'll roll your right side, and then you're going to stretch your left side and then stretch your right side in this next one, okay? And this next one is the couch stretch, named by Kelly Starrett, physical therapist up in San Francisco, where I learned a lot of these techniques from. What you're going to do is you're going to elevate your foot onto some chair, some bench, some box, whatever you can elevate your foot on, and then have your knee on the ground like so. So just like that, and then the other foot comes out in front of you, like we're in a lunge position right now, okay? Now it would be a rear foot elevated lunge if I were to do that, but we're just holding this position I'm bringing my chest upright and back as far as I can. Now there's a couple really important things to focus on here. So that we don't hyperextend and arch our back, we want to make sure our abs are somewhat engaged. So I'm tightening my abs here. And then I'm squeezing my glute of the foot that's elevated. So I'm really locking in this glute, tightening my abs. And then I'm going to breathe here deeply for 2 minutes. Okay? So I'm breathing into my stomach. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Now, sometimes it can be hard to remember. Keep the glute engaged, keep the abs engaged. But if you need to pause the video, go back, remind yourself. It's not a relaxing posture. We're not just hanging out here. We're staying locked and loaded so that we get a nice stretch here in the front side of the hip, which is the area that we just rolled. And remember, you guys, we're always rolling it and then stretching it to make sure that it's well prepared for the exercises we're going to do later. So we got the front side of the hip. Now we're going to do the hamstrings a little bit. So we've done this before, but we worked on the entire hamstring when we did it before. Today we're going to work just the high hamstring as it inserts into the sit bone. So when you sit, you'll find that the bones that you sit on at the bottom of your pelvis, kind of up under your groin, that's called the sit bone. It's the piece of your pelvis that's at the bottom of your body. Now, the hamstrings, especially the hamstring and groin, this big chunk of muscle right here, goes up and attaches into the sit bone and pelvis, and it can get super tied up in there from sitting on it, okay? As I'm sitting, my hamstrings are short, so we're going to roll them and we're going to stretch them. Now this one, I briefly demonstrated this to you when we did it before in the previous video when we did roll the hamstrings, but we're going to get just the higher location. So you'll see that I have the ball way up under my groin near where the hamstring reaches the sit bone, okay, on that right side. Now it is, and especially you'll see I'm kind of rolling forward, super tight and tender up in there, okay? And you'll find it'll sink in, the ball will sink in under the sit bone, kind of in the back of the thigh. And at least for me, it's really tender, as I said, so it can be quite painful. Now, if you feel after a minute or so that you're able to then move your leg as so, where you flex the hamstring and lengthen the hamstring like this, then this is what your goal is, okay? Your goal is to be able to move and floss the leg for another minute or so. So you're just on it for the first minute, relaxing, letting the ball sink in. You're not moving this way. You're not moving the ball down your thigh. You're just working on the high hamstring sit bone area. You can go forward and back a little bit like this just to search where is the most tender, but once you find it, you do the straight leg, bending the knee back and forth like this. Total of 2 minutes each high hamstring, okay? After you roll each hamstring, we're then going to stretch each hamstring. And this one we have not done before. So you want something to be able to set your leg on, some sort of elevated surface. You could use the same thing that you used for when you were sitting on it to roll a box or bench or something like that. So we're going to place our leg, our heel, on the bench. And then from here, we're going to hinge forward a little bit, keeping the back flat. You'll see as I bend forward, I'm not rounding the spine, okay? We never want to round because we're trying to stay really active in the stretch. So my chest is tall. I bend forward, keeping the back flat. I feel a nice hamstring stretch going all the way down from my pelvis down through my calf. So I do feel that stretch down through the calf, which is great. Pull the toes and foot back towards your shin into dorsiflexion. And now from here, once we get here for 2 minutes, keeping the back engaged, we're going to work internal rotation, external rotation. So I'm turning my foot in and out. In and out. So I'm staying active and warming up my hip while I get the hamstring stretch here. So this is external rotation, internal rotation, and you're going to do that for 2 minutes. Just going back and forth, 2 minutes in, 2 minutes out, and then you'll switch sides, get 2 minutes internal rotation, same thing, same stretch, going in and out for 2 minutes, keeping the back flat. Okay, and that's it for mobility today, you guys. Get it done. I'll see you in tier 2.